So what's going on guys, Kades here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you the new Lost Ark PvE tier list after the new big update. So a bunch of classes got nerfed, then some others got buffed, and now all the other tier lists are outdated. So here's the updated tier list that you've been waiting for. We will look into each and every single class and we'll see how much DPS a class has gained or lost, then how good it is now compared to other classes, and then lastly at the end of the video you will be able to decide which classes you should play after the update. So if this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. So then moving over to the first class, which is the Berserker, and we will put him right in the S tier. So the Berserker is a bit slow class that deals massive amount of damage. Generally it is regarded as one of the top DPS classes for solo and group content. His identity skill is the burst mode that gives him boost in power and a special skill to use. So then in a summary, this is one of the craziest classes that on paper looks like it got a nerf, but actually it's pretty untouched, and especially if you're playing the Mayhem build, then your value in parties for Berserkers has gone up by a lot. So as far as ranking goes, the Berserker is still one of the top DPS classes. Just after this update you will want to switch out an ability or two and that's about it. So then going over to the second class, which is the Shadowhunter, and we want to include her right in the S tier. So Shadowhunter is a demon based class. In PvE she plays more like a fighter rather than assassin. She has good range on skills and damage. There are two ways to play this class. The first build focuses on demonic form, where you get bunch of fun abilities to use, but get a bit less damage. Or then the second build disables the demon form and you purely use your human form skills for the highest damage possible. So then in a summary, the Shadowhunter got a nice plus 6% flat damage increase. Sure, bunch of abilities, one or two other things was added or removed, but in general you won't see big build changes or big difference in playstyle. So overall the Shadowhunter got a buff, and it is right now one of the best damage dealers in the game. So then going over to the next class, which is the Sorceress, and she gets to be in the S tier. So Sorceress is a typical mage class that focuses on casting spells. She specializes in dealing ranged magic damage, primarily with fire, lightning and ice. In PvE she has two builds, where you have a good sustained DPS and mobility, or you get a huge amount of burst but very little mobility. And then lastly, this class has very short dodge skills, so you have to be careful when participating in raids. So then in a summary, the Sorceress Igniter build was only nerfed by about 5 to 6%, and it is still very good. So if I would be a Sorceress player, I would be very happy with the results, and almost no abilities were changed whatsoever. So this class is still one of the top damage dealers. Just if before you were out damaging everyone very easily, then now the damage numbers are a bit closer to the other DPS classes. So then moving over to the last and final S tier class, which is the Artillerist. So Artillerist is a slow gunner class. He has good damage and summons bunch of turrets that can help you out in boosting your DPS. This class is quite tanky yet very sluggish, so many people won't find this class as easy or fun to get into, but overall the Artillerist received a huge buff, so now it has gone up to the S tier. I personally don't recommend to play this class for a new player, but if you're experienced and don't mind the slow playstyle, then you should definitely try this class out. So then in a summary, the Artillerist received the damage and playstyle buff, which makes this class now one of the top DPS dealers. This class is still not for everyone, so if you were ever thinking about playing or trying this class out, then now is definitely the best time. So then going over to the fifth class, which is the Sharpshooter, and he gets to be placed in the A tier. So Sharpshooter is a bow player type of class. He uses a bird as his identity skill. The Sharpshooter class has skills with low cooldowns and quick animations. His high mobility helps in avoiding hits and dealing consistent damage to the enemies. And because of the new changes, the Sharpshooter received a significant buff to the damage and playstyle, so now this class can do a lot more DPS and it has gone up to the A tier. So in a quick summary, the Sharpshooter playstyle was changed and because of a bug that developers now call as a feature. And now I actually recommend for players to play this class. And then on top of the damage and playstyle change, you can spend less money for Sharpshooter build. So what are you waiting for? Try this class out and have fun. So then moving over to the next class, which is the Deadblade, and she gets to be included right next to the Sharpshooter. So Deathblade is a rogue/assassin type of class. She has great damage, good buffs, and overall performs very good. In general, Deathblade is very mobile class, fairly easy to pick up and play, and most importantly, with the right build, you'll be able to do super high damage. So then in a summary, Deathblade Surge Engraving got a pretty big nerf, and now you have harder time to build up orbs, so this means that you will do less DPS, and it will require for you to use more player skill and knowledge to do the same amount of damage like before. So overall, the Deathblades are no longer the #1 class in Lost Ark, but if you use the remaining energy build, or if you are a skillful player, then Deathblade still can do pretty serious amount of damage. So then moving over to the next one, which is called Scrapper, and she gets to be placed in the A tier. So Scrapper is an agile fighter class that focuses purely on melee kicks and punches. Her identity lets her use skills by alternating between both of her energy types called Stamina and Shock. Scrapper has two ways to play this class. The first build is slow and has high damage, and it is called the Shock build, or then the second one is more mobile with consistent DPS type but a bit lower damage, and it's called the Taijutsu. Both playstyles deal around the same damage in a long run. So in a quick summary, one of the biggest buffs and biggest winners in this new update was the Scrapper class, and if before you couldn't do much damage, then now you should be able to dominate any dungeon and get an easy MVP. So then moving over to the last and final A tier class, which is the Glaivier, aka the Lance Master. So Glaivier is one of the most fun martial artist classes in Lost Ark. The controlled build mainly focuses on combat stat swiftness, making her focus more on spamming skills right off the cooldown. And then the second build, called Pinnacle, has more bursty playstyle, which focuses on identity management, which requires high specialization. So in my summary, the Glaivier was slightly buffed, but I definitely think that this class should get a lot bigger change, and a bit better buff than in this patch. Overall, Glaivier hasn't changed much except a bit of DPS increase from the red skills, but if you use the control engraving, then basically nothing has changed. So then moving over to the B tier, and the first class that gets to be in here is the new class called the Destroyer. So the Destroyer is a slow but very hard hitting class. He has a lot of shields from his skills, and he can do crazy amount of damage if you use it properly. In general, Destroyers are very good, fun and not hard class to pick up and learn, and he has the highest stagger skills in Lost Ark. So then in a summary, Destroyer got a slight buff, but this class is still very consistent in fights with its super high stagger damage, and like per usual, by playing the Destroyer, getting an MVP should not be hard. Both class engravings called Rage Hammer and Gravity Training weren't much changed, so no matter which build you choose, both of them are good options, and that's about it. So then going over to the next class, which is called the Gunslinger, and she gets to be included right next to the Destroyer class. So Gunslinger is one of the hardest classes to learn. This class is similar with the Deadeye, but it's still very different. Gunslinger mainly uses her rifle to do damage, and she is easier to play than Deadeye, and can reach full damage potential. She has a lot of utility and mobility that makes this class very strong, and if you play it right, you will do crazy amount of damage. So then in a quick summary, the Gunslinger got an overall 2 to 3% damage increase, and especially if you play the Time to Hunt build, now it's even more better than ever. But in general, I would say that this class got a small buff, and hopefully in the future this class will get a more significant damage increase, because with all the other DPS classes getting better, it feels like developers forgot about the Gunslinger. So then moving over to one of the last B tier classes, and it's called the Wardancer. So Wardancer is a fast-paced fighter class. In PvE she deals quick hits and does pretty nice DPS. For your playstyle, you have to charge up orbs to deal your highest damage numbers, but most people use the no orb engraving. In general, this class is hard to master but easy to pick up. So then in my summary, the Wardancer got a damage of all normal skills increased by 18%, and then esoteric skills and awakening skills got a flat 14% damage increase as well. And then lastly, the class engraving called First Intention was buffed from 15, 20 and 25% to 16, 24 and 32%. So overall, the Wardancer is a great class, but it takes a lot of time to master, especially with the long time it takes to build up Gauge. So then moving over to the Gunlancer, and he gets to be placed in the B tier. So Gunlancer is the tankiest class that the game has to offer. This class makes PvE content very easy and you can face the boss head on, making it very easy for your teammates to hit the boss from behind. Do keep in mind that this class also does good damage, so overall this is very safe and easy class to pick up and play. So then in a quick summary, nothing much has changed for Gunlancer. He received a minor buff for 2-3 skills, but that's about it. So then going over to the last and final B tier class, and it is the Striker. So Striker is a fast-paced brawler class. He deals quick hits and does pretty nice DPS. The Striker is a high mobility class with small AoE skills. At the early stages, this class is slower at clearing big monster groups compared to other classes until you unlock and invest in your bigger AoE skills. So then in my summary, the only change that the Striker received was getting two ability types change from frontal attack to back attack, and that's about it. So then going over to the next class, which is called the Deadeye, and he gets to be placed in the C tier. So Deadeye in PvE is a hard class that has to use 3 different weapons. It can be even top DPS if you manage everything perfectly. But the big issue with this class is that it's super squishy, so it's very easy to get caught by the enemies while using your main DPS skills. So then in my summary, this class is not bad whatsoever, but it just takes way too much effort and time to make this class work. The potential is there, but the complicated gameplay makes this class very hard to use, and basically there is no point to use this class, as you can use any other gunner class and make your life a lot easier and with a lot more damage as well. And then lastly, before the only viable build was to play the enhanced weapon, but now the pistoler build has catched up. And both of these class engravings and builds are very good right now and viable for players to choose, and that's about it. So then for the next class we have the Soulfist, and she gets to be placed in the C tier. So Soulfist is a well-rounded class with good mobility, single target and AoE damage, but her identity is very unusual. She has 3 stages that you can activate, and each stage makes her stronger and stronger. And then lastly, if you run out of mana, then you have to regenerate to full before you can cast your spells again. So then in a quick summary, the Soulfist class in PTR was nerfed, but after a lot of players expressed their concern, most nerfs were removed, and this class is basically the same now without any significant nerfs, and even with a slight plus 7% damage increase for only skills. But besides that, this class is still hard to play with no payback whatsoever. So overall the Soulfist is good, but it takes way too much time to make it work. So it's up to you if you want to play it or not. So then moving over to one of the last classes, which is the Paladin, and he gets to be placed in his own category called Support. So Paladin is a support type of class. He has yellow and blue skills. Yellow skills activate your support abilities and blue skills are meant for damage. As you are a support class, it is wanted in any type of endgame content. And on top of all this, the Paladin has the best damage boosting support skills in the entire game. So in a quick summary, like most support classes, the Paladin didn't get any changes besides now in Chaos Dungeons. You will be able to do a bit more damage as the Paladin DPS, and that's about it. So then moving over to the last and final class, which is the Bard, and she gets to be placed in the support category. So Bard is a support class. She can cast shields, attack buffs and heals to her allies, which makes her very useful in raids and dungeons. The Bard is immobile and not easy class, as you must know the correct timing and placement of your supporting skills, but overall this class is very fun to play and it will pay off in the end game. So then in a quick summary, this class wasn't changed whatsoever, and at least in my opinion, both support classes are in a great state, and they're not overpowered whatsoever, so not really changing them is definitely the way to go, and that's about it. So I really do appreciate everyone for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, feedback or other good Lost Ark PvE classes or guides that you would like to see in the next video, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And if you're interested in the new update patch notes where I explain all the numbers and how much exactly one class got nerfed or buffed, then check this video, which you can find the link in this video description or just scroll through my channel. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe and enable that notification bell, so this way you could support the channel and you won't miss any more amazing content from me. With all this said, you have an amazing day and I will see you in my next video. So take it easy, peace.
Yo, I ain't here for the money, I ain't here for the fame. Though it might be nice to own a jet plane, I'ma do it all for you. Come along and see it's true.